Hello everyone, and welcome to Expanded Horizons, the show all about the expanded format of the Pokémon Trading Card Game. I'm Kurt DeBow, and today we're going to be kicking off with our very first episode of the series by looking at Café Master and Alcremie, probably not in that order. So, this is the card in question. This should be coming out in our Brilliant Stars? Is that the name of the... That's the name of the set, I think. Yeah, it was revealed just yesterday, actually, as I am recording this, so you'll have to forgive me if I do mess up the name. But it is a Psychic Pokemon, so let's quickly go over what are the cool things Psychic Pokemon can do in the expanded format. To be honest, there's not a whole lot, especially compared to some of the other types. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, most Psychic Pokemon really just Psychic Pokemon have more generalized supportive abilities, effects, etc. There's just not a whole lot that affects Psychic Pokemon exclusively, but in the context of searching and drawing, we only have two things, but those two things are absolutely beautiful. The first one is Fog Crystal. If you play the standard format, you will be familiar with this card. Searches your deck for either a basic Psychic Energy or a basic Psychic Pokemon. Only one, you can't choose both, but you can just grab it however you like. And then we have Mysterious Treasure, which says discard a card from your hand, and if you do, search your deck for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon. We won't be grabbing Dragon Pokemon here, but it allows you to grab any Psychic Pokemon. Doesn't have to be a basic, doesn't have to be an evolution, doesn't have to be rule box or non-rule box, any Psychic Pokemon you want, and it goes into your hand, so you can play something like Tapu Lele GX, and it doesn't have to go straight to your bench, which can be extremely beneficial. In terms of energy acceleration, we don't have the best options, but one of the options we do have, Dimension Valley, is absolutely amazing. Just says each of your Psychic Pokemon's attacks cost one colorless less. So as we'll see in a moment with Alcremie, it has a cost of 2 colorless energy, so if you have Dimension Valley in play, it only costs 1 energy at all. We also have Zacian V. This is a brand new card that came out in Celebrations. Roar the Sword. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Psychic Energy card and attach it to one of your Pokemon. However, if you do so, your turn does end, but it's very reminiscent of Leafeon V. We also have Malamar, a bit of a fan favorite, especially in yesteryear's more budgety decks. It has a Psychic Recharge ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. It does have 9 HP, so it's in that nice little HP range. And we also have Gardevoir. Not something I would personally recommend, but I would be really not nice of me to talk about Psychic Energy Acceleration without at least mentioning Gardevoir, which basically just doubles your basic Psychic Energy. So instead of needing 2 energy attachments, you can have just the one, although it is a stage 2 and it's a little bit awkward, in fact very awkward to get out. In terms of disruption, I know some people would disagree with me that damage counter and spread damage isn't disruption, but nonetheless we do have access to Old Cemetery, no end there. Whenever any player attaches a basic energy, or doesn't even have to be a basic energy, but an energy card nonetheless, from their hand to a non-psychic Pokemon, 2 damage counters are placed on it. Very similar to Spell Tag over here, which is a tool, which is when the Psychic Pokemon statue is KO'd, you get to put 4 damage counters however you like. So Spell Tag is a once single use, so to speak, but you do have a lot more flexibility in terms of how the damage counters are placed. There's also Wobbuffet, which has the Wide Barricade ability, no stranger to the expanded format, which basically shuts off all abilities so long as it is in the active spot, but it specifically excludes the abilities of Psychic Pokemon. We also have Morty, Actual Disruption, which you can only play when one of your Psychic Pokemon is KO'd by an opponent's, actually it doesn't even say by an opponent's attack, so if they die to poison, that won't work, but if they die due to damage counters, actually I think those proc as well. Regardless, Morty allows you to just look at your opponent's hand, choose any 2 cards you like, and just throw them back into your deck. It's a really big momentum change, but it does cost you your supporter for the turn, and it does require that one of your Psychic Pokemon was KO'd. So that's it for the psychic tools. Not a whole lot going on, especially not a whole lot that Alcremie can take advantage of. But let's stop talking about Alcremie behind its back and jump right into it. Alcremie is a stage 1 evolution. It evolves from Milcery. We only have 2 Milcery, one from Vivid Voltage and the other from Rebel Class. They both kind of do the same thing. One heals for 20 and deals 10 damage. The other heals for 10 and does 20 damage. The illusion of choice. Yay! Both have 50 HP. Both have the same weakness, retreat cost. I guess I would prefer the one that does 10 damage for a single colorless energy, but it's not a very, shall we say, skillful choice. And most of the time, it's not even going to matter. In fact, I would argue it pretty much never matters. But just in case it does, I would recommend the one from Vivid Voltage. Since it is a Stage 1 Pokemon, we can grab it with Evolution Incense. It is a legal target. And also, since it has 90 HP, we can also grab it nice and easily with Level Ball. And we can also grab it back from the discard pile with Rescue Carrier, which is really, really nice. 90 HP is a really good amount of HP to have, because once you're past the 30, 40, arguably 50 HP range, it kind of doesn't matter how much HP you have, because they're either not going to be able to KO you, or they're going to deal like 200 damage, and it doesn't matter. So you might as well be able to take advantage of your low HP to use stuff like Level Ball and Rescue Carrier. It has a weakness to metal and no resistance, but again, as long as you have 9 HP, which is enough. So unless you run to steel types or metal types, which do exactly 50 damage, like it's just not going to matter. And you have a nice retreat cost of 1. We like the retreat cost of 1. It allows us to use quality of life retreat cost reducing items such as U-turn board and escape board. If you have 2 or 3 in your retreat cost, you're basically forced to use floatstone. But being able to pivot out of the active spot is going to be especially relevant for Alcremie. And so being able to get some extra use cases with a skateboard, or just having a nice quality of life, not needing to search your floatstones all that often with U-turn board is a very nice bonus indeed. Not to mention that in case of emergency, you can just attach an energy and retreat out manually. So what does this Alcremie actually do? Well, it's got an ability, and we like abilities. Every time we see that a Pokemon has an ability, we get excited in the expanded format. And this one says, as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your turn does not end when you play the new card Café Master. Now we'll get to Café Master in just a little bit, but it has only 1 attack and is for 2 colorless energy, 10 damage, but it does 40 more damage for each different type of basic energy attached to your Pokemon. Now before we analyze that attack, let's analyze the attack cost. It is 2 colorless energy, which is really, really, really nice, because we can use, well, double colorless energy or twin energy, and since it's evolution, we can also use triple acceleration energy, and since it's a non-rule box, a non-GX, we can use counter energy as well. And if you don't feel like using special energy, you can use counter gain or Dimension Valley to reduce the cost to 1 colorless energy with a tool or stadium respectively. So it's really nice. This attack is extremely easy to pay off, and having access to all of these different types of energies really gives us some options in terms of what techs we can put in our deck, because we can take advantage of Pokemon that can use twin energy if we choose to use that, or Pokemon that can use triple acceleration energy if we choose to use that, or if we have a counter energy in our deck, we can maybe throw in a Pokemon or 2 which have otherwise awkward attack costs. So let's talk about numbers, right? Because 10 plus 40 for each different type of basic energy, that's a little bit difficult to comprehend. So let's quickly go through one by one what are the types of Pokemon you're able to OHKO. If you attach 1 type of basic energy, good job, you did it. You paid a 2 cost attack with 1 energy. You're able to hit 50, which is just enough to KO Bunnelby, I guess. It's not very good. You definitely don't want to be hitting 50 damage for 2 energy. If you happen to get 2 types, you will be hitting 90, which is the perfect amount to be hitting those level balls to your Pokemon, which is really nice. If you can attach 3, you're able to hit 130, where you're KOing pretty much any single prizer. There are a couple beefy stage 2, especially some of the newer stage 2s that have closer to 160 HP, but 130 is pretty good for estimating, being able to clean outco every single prizer. If you get 4 different types of basic energy, you start to hit 170, which is just barely enough to not KO your supportive Vs. You will be getting Dedenne GX though, and since that's a pretty popular GX Pokemon, or rather a pretty popular 2-prizer, I guess that's not a bad thing. If you can manage to somehow smack on 5 different types of basic energy, you still aren't KOing, excuse me, you're still not KOing Pokemon V. At least you'll be KOing, Crobat, in addition to the aforementioned Dedenne. You'll get a couple of Pokemon V, such as Dragapult, and I guess you'll be able to finally take care of the one person who still plays Zoroark GX, but you really want to be hitting 210 if you're aiming to take down Pokemon V, and 240 or even 230 is what you really want to be hitting just to be safe. But if you can somehow manage to slap on 6 different types of basic energy, you can finally be not KOing most tag teams. You will be able to get all of Pokemon V. There are a couple of tag teams, but the only relevant one is Pikarom, which I guess is that's not terrible, but you're slapping on 6 different types of basic energy. So if you can manage to slap on 7, count it, 7 different types of basic energy, you're finally able to KO all those tag teams, but not the VMAXs. You're still unable to slap down the VMAXs. And if you can find it in your heart to find 8 different types of basic energy, you'll able to cleanly KO Pokemon VMAXs, which is that's a lot to ask for. That's like a lot, right? Piling on 8 different energy on the field to KO one Pokemon is already ridiculous. Having it be different types is even more so. Things are not really looking good for this Alcremie. Its attack is borderline useless, and its ability is... Well, actually, we haven't gone over this ability, so let's do that. I mean, what could possibly be the effect of Café Master that could turn this entire video around and basically double its length? Alright, if you play this card, your turn ends. I don't like that. Choose up to 3 of your benched Pokemon, and for each, search your deck for a basic energy, a different basic energy, and attach them 1 to each. That's not... Actually... Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. This is the kind of card that kind of just gets the deck building gears turning, because this isn't a particularly good card, but keep in mind, remember that Alcremie's ability makes it so that this does not end your turn. You can grab any 3 energy from the deck. Well, not any, they have to be basic, and they have to be different types, and you need 3 different Pokemon on your bench to begin with, but it's nonetheless energy acceleration, and pretty decent one at that. So this deck kind of builds itself, right? You need to play Café Master to power up Alcremie. Alcremie powers up your Café Master. All you really need to be able to do is somehow protect Alcremie and accelerate energy and get at least 3 basic Pokemon, or excuse me, benched Pokemon on the field. And you need to somehow do all this without your supporter, because your supporter for the turn is going to be Café Master. So you're going to need to rely on Pokemon or item cards, probably a combination of both, to draw or otherwise search out the combo pieces you need. You need to somehow accelerate energy to Alcremie, or you can just use double colorless or twin energy or whatever. And you also need to protect your energy, because it'd be a shame if Articuno came in and just probably not Articuno, I don't think you can stop that anyway, but if you're affected by something like Plumeria, you're going to need some way to protect your energy. So, can this work? Probably not, but here is my best attempt to do so, and I'm going to introduce one of my favorite cards, Ribombee. Ribombee, I like it a lot, secondarily, more like, for its lack of retreat cost, and incidentally, it is a stage 1, but the evolution basic Cutify, or pre-evolution basic, excuse me, also does not have a retreat cost. So if you start the game with Cutify, in the active, you can easily just retreat out. No big deal. It always feels bad when you start the game with your lone Dedenne, because not only do you not have access to your Dene, but you also gotta have some way to find it, get it out of the active, and you don't have a problem with that. You don't have that problem, with free retreaters. But more importantly is the ability Mysterious Buzz. As long as it's on the bench, whenever your opponent places a support card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your fairy Pokemon in play. It's important because it protects your other fairy Pokemon as well. So your opponent is not able to Guzma. Your opponent is not able to play something like Plumeria or Faba to get rid of the energy on your Ribombee, or even tools on Ribombee and stuff like that. So it's extremely nice. And also, there is a different Ribombee which allows you to grab any 2 basic energy from your deck and put it into your hand. If that sounds a little familiar, that's because it recently got reprinted in Standard with Eldegoss. And to top it all off, it has low HP. Cutiefly is in the 30 HP range, which is a little bit awkward, but you can still nonetheless use both Ribombee and Cutiefly and the other Ribombee with Level Ball and Rescue Carrier, just like you can with Alcremie. So, what could this deck look like? What is our game plan? Well, let's start with the first turn. It's never a bad thing to start with the first turn. We can't attack with Alcremie because it is an evolution Pokemon, and we can't evolve on our first turn or evolve a Pokemon that was put into play that turn. And if we're going first, we can't play supporters anyway, so we can't really use Café Master. So we can talk a little bit more about what we can do in the situation where it's our first turn going first. But let's think, what if we're going second and it's our first turn? Well, if we're going second, we still can't Café Master. We still can't evolve into Alcremie, but we can at least use our attack slot, or our attack for the turn, rather, to kind of set up our bench. So I'll introduce here Dunsparce, a personal favorite of mine, although there are plenty of other cards with similar effects. Dunsparce just lets you slap down 3 basic Pokemon. And considering how easy it is to get Milcery, it's not too far-fetched to assume that we are able to get 3 Cutiefly and a Milcery out in the field with the effect of Dunsparce. But you don't have to use Dunsparce like I propose here. You can also just straight up use Café Master and somehow hope you draw into all the other basic Pokemon. So if you play Café Master, you can slap 3 different energy on 3 different Cutiefly, and I guess just hope you don't get KO'd during the first turn, or maybe play down a second Milcery just in case. So going into the second turn, your turn 1 lead is probably getting KO'd because you don't have that much HP. And you can play another Café Master. You now have 6 energy, 2 energy on 3 Cutiefly each. And you can play down Ribombee to kind of protect your Cutiefly and your Ribombee. And then hopefully you can somehow draw into Alcremie, and then also somehow draw into Double Colorless. Also somehow both draw into Café Master and the Ribombee, by the way. And you can finally swing for 250, so you can barely not KO tag teams. And you can, I guess you'll be KOing Pokemon V, so that's pretty good, I guess. And then turn 3, I guess you can play a third Café Master, get 9 energy on the board. So you can hit 370, which will actually OHKO everything, but you'll need to find another Café Master. You'll also have to find another Alcremie, which means you needed the Milcery the previous turn and another double colorless energy. And I think you can start to see why this deck just barely does not work. Well, barely might be a bit of an understatement. This is just ridiculously awkward to actually pull off, but it's going to be really fun. It's also very interesting to kind of just think about all the various things you could do. The proposal I've put out here, which is to use Ribombee, it really helps with protecting your energy once it's on the field, because once you have played Café Master 3 times and you are able to OHKO everything, you just need to focus on making sure you can just produce Alcremie over and over again and have the double colorless in hand to power them up and attack with. But at least your setup is safe. At least you have your energy stored up in your bench bank, so to speak. But you still need a way to actually search out all of these cards, and you still need to find a way to actually accelerate the energy or otherwise draw into your double colorless. So there's still a lot more things I didn't even present in our mini scenario. What do we do with our non-attacking turns? What do we do if we're doing first turn, if we're going first and it's our first turn? What if we evolve? We got all our setup except for the part where we drew into double colorless and or alchemy. We can use Zacian or Leafeon or the other Zacian to draw 3 cards, accelerate a grass energy or accelerate a psychic energy respectively, although they all 3 of those abilities end our turn, and they're also on 2-prizers. They're not exactly the tankiest of 2-prizers either, especially Leafeon V. We also have to consider the single prizer matchup, wasting essentially 3 turns of the game to OHKO 2 3-prizers is not a terrible strategy, but spending 3 turns, well, realistically 2 turns to KO single prizers is not the best idea in the world, even though we're single prizers ourselves, because we're very combo heavy. We need a lot of combo pieces, so we need something to help mitigate that. We could try, as long as we're grabbing 3 different types of basic energy, I guess 4, just to be safe. We might as well think about amazing rares. We can use something like Kyogre if we're up against things that are just barely below the level ball range, or rather barely below a 90 HP. We can go for a full board with Kyogre. If our opponent is using a bit higher HP single prizers, we could use Raikou. But even if we use them, we need some way to get the energy from our Ribombee onto our amazing rares. So our only option really is Scramble Switch. But even then, we still need a way to actually grab our pieces. So many of these scenarios have us saying, well, we need just these 2 or 3 cards in the same turn. And that's very difficult to pull off. I don't really have a good answer for this question, honestly. Maybe just Arceus V Star. That might unironically be not a terrible option, considering we can use its ability to grab any 2 cards, or we could take down a single prizer. As long as we are able to play triple acceleration energy. Also, Arceus V-Star just straight up accelerates energy anyway, so we could try and power up an Arceus V-Star, slap down 3 energy on our Ribombee, and then our Alcremie are able to operate much more efficiently, but it's still just so awkward to pull this off. I really am... I'm not going to say there's nothing we can do about it. Here's a couple other random ideas I thought of just off the top of my head. We've got Togekiss with Serene Grace. It's a stage 2, but it does have the Delta Evolution Ancient trait, so you can just turn 1 Togepi, turn 2 Togekiss, Togekiss, and then you can look at the top 8 cards. I believe it's top 8. Find any basic energy and just slap them down. We've got the brand new Xerneas, which has the Breath of Light for 2 colorless energy, so as long as we're playing double colorless and or twin energy, searches our deck for 3 basic energy cards of different types and attaches them to our Pokemon in any way you like. It's basically a better Café Master, but it does take up our turn. But if we have Alcremie in the active spot and we attach something like U-turn board to it, we can, with Alcremie the active, Café Master, put 3 energy down, retreat out into Xerneas, attach double colorless, Breath of Life once more, and now we have all 6 energy. Not all 6, because we still need 8 energy realistically to be able to OHKO everything, but we have 6 energy down on the field, and that might be a bit better than trying to stall a turn by playing down 2 Café Masters, and we also have Max Elixir, which just lets us look at the top 6 cards and attach basic energy there to one of our benched basic Pokemon. There's also Gardevoir, the brand new, not necessarily brand new anymore, but nonetheless new Gardevoir, which has the Shining Arcana ability, which basically just lets us draw 2 cards, and if any of those 2 cards are energy, we can attach them however we want. You can think of it like Zacian V, but a bit worse, but so it's not a 2-prizer, but also it's a stage 2, so it's still pretty awkward. There's also Oricorio GX if we just want the raw card draw, although Oricorio GX is a 2-prizer, so you have to be careful of that. A great way to ruin your single prize deck is by putting in too many 2-prizers so that your opponent can just Guzma and KO them. We just have Naganadel. It'll just grab a basic energy from our discard pile. So if we feel a little less confident, or rather, if we feel confident in not needing Ribombee's ability to protect our bench Pokemon, we can just slap down Naganadel, and we can be not so afraid to discard stuff with, for example, Mysterious Treasure. We can discard a basic energy and then grab it back with Naganadel. or if we can just manually, if we are already manually attaching basic energy to Alcremie, Naganadel will get the energy back, and it will slowly but surely power up our deck. Or if we want to go a more offensive route, or more aggressive route rather, we can use something like Ho-Oh-EX, which says you can flip a coin, I believe. I think it's flip a coin, yeah. It always feels like your opponent always flips heads, but it is on a coin flip, and you can put it from the discard pile onto your bench and attach 3 different types of basic energy to Ho-Oh-EX. Again, it is a 2-prizer, but we could potentially pull off the Alcremie VMAX Oko on turn 2. That's a little bit unrealistic. KOing a V on turn 2 is significantly more realistic with Ho-Oh-EX and its rebirth ability. So, with all this in mind, what rating do I want to give Alcremie and or Café Master? There's a lot of potential here. I mean, this is a fun deck, if nothing else. This is really fun, going to be a really fun deck to both build and play. It's going to be very, very interesting, but at the end of the day, it's a very gimmicky deck. Even if it can potentially OHKO everything in the format and it has good scaling, we're not going all into deal 300 damage to a single prizer, as some decks do. If we are up against Night March per se, or rather Mad Party, we can just Café Master once and then completely focus on setting up Alcremie. If we're up against 2 prizers, we only have Café Master twice. And if we're up against VMAXs, we can Café Master 3 times, but because we have to spend so much time investing in those resources, we are nonetheless kind of paying off that debt by just KOing a 3-prizer and winning half the game right there and then. So it's not as big a deal that we're spending 3 turns setting up Café Master. So what rating do I want to give these? To be completely honest, I think 2 Trick Shovels is probably a bit generous. I'm kind of just living in the hype right now. It's probably not a great deck, all things considered, but as I mentioned before, it's going to be a very interesting and, more importantly, fun deck to both build and play, and you really can't go wrong playing stuff like that. That's the reason why we love the expanded format. You've got so many options. You can take a crazy card or crazy combo and try your very best to make it work, and even if it doesn't, it's still just a lot of fun. Even if this combo only works off 40% of the time, it's still a fun time, and I really can't be too mad about that. So that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, or just at me, ping me, however you'd like to contact me. I'm Kurtipo everywhere, and I'll catch you guys next time. Oh yeah, that's right. Do the YouTuber things, like and subscribe for more expanded content. More expanded content is on the way regardless, but if you like and subscribe, you let me know that this is something you do want to see. This is something that you are enjoying. But I'll catch you guys next time, probably for either us actually starting our look at Fusion Strike or looking at the brand new cards from Brilliant Stars. I do think that is the name of the new set. Until then, take care.